Today we're going to be talking about the infrastructure you need to convert and sell. And this live is prompted really by a conversation I had with somebody yesterday. And I want to share that story with you. Obviously, I'm not going to share the person's details with you, but I'm going to share that story with you because it is a common thing that happens. So we're going to talk about that. How do you build that infrastructure that makes selling and closing new clients easier? Because basically, I see almost a travesty with a lot of people, and I want to change it. I want to stop it. So I'm going to talk about it, share it, so that hopefully you see it too, you hear about it too, and actually do something about it. I'm just making sure the live is actually working today, because yesterday it was pretty strange and was playing up. But yes, here we go. So come on. So, right, first things first. When you're trying to sell, maybe you're brand new to selling, maybe who knows, there is this common thing that happens. People don't focus on what they're doing. They don't take it seriously. They're not serious people about, actually, I'm trying to build a business. They actually are acting emotionally. So they want the goal of new clients and making more money and all of that good stuff. But actually, when it comes to the crunch, they're not really serious about what that is. And I see this a lot, that people will devote hours and hours and hours to doing something to get leads, but then like sabotage themselves when it comes to converting those leads. And I kind of think about it that actually what happens is internally, they don't want to fail. So they would rather avoid doing the work so that they don't fail. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I see this a lot. So I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they had 146 people sign up for a live event of theirs. 146 people about a problem that they know they can solve. And they'd made the decision to not follow those people up. They said they didn't have time. It was a lot of work to follow up people who've signed up for their webinar. Now, I can't get my head around that, why somebody would do that. But it kind of leads me to believe that a lot of people have major kind of emotional hang-ups when it comes to sales and selling. And some people will, and I kind of did this maybe. I would give myself excuses like, well, if they really wanted to buy, they'd inquire. If they were really serious, they'd message me. But that's not how the world works. That's what we say to ourselves when we want to avoid uncomfortable work. So it got me thinking about this and going, how do I get people to stop this avoidant behavior? How do I get them to actually take it more seriously? And it came down to a couple of things. The first thing is, like, I can't fix somebody who can't control themselves. I cannot take responsibility. I had to think about this. I cannot take responsibility for somebody who can't practice their own self-control. Like, sometimes I don't like doing things. Sometimes I don't want to post. Sometimes I don't want to go live. But I've made a decision to do that to help build my brand, help you guys. But also, it's a decision I've made. The decision is done. So I have to fulfill that decision. Sometimes I don't want to do that. You have to, first of all, if you've done this avoidant behavior, realize that this avoidant behavior is costing you money. It's costing you. How many leads have you lost? How many paying clients have you lost because you are not prepared to do some uncomfortable work? I've lost a lot. I've lost a lot because I didn't feel like it, or I didn't like it, or I wouldn't devote the time. And my goals were basically in conflict with me. Now, some might go, well, Dean, are you telling people to do icky outreach? No, that's just a label you might be putting on it now because maybe I'm saying some home truths that resonate. If you want to actually get leads and clients consistently, you're going to have to get used to doing some work that right now maybe doesn't feel comfortable. Maybe it feels awkward. Maybe it feels overwhelming. You know, when I first started doing these lives 6 years ago, I was terrified of doing it. I'd obsess about getting it right. I'd obsess about what I would say. I'd obsess about everything. I'd remember when I'd make a mistake in a live and it would haunt me for days afterwards. And the more I did it, the more I got comfortable with it. You know, it's funny how we often think about, I'd love to be the number one expert in my field. I'd love to be the one that charges huge fees. And I can remember when I started charging better rates and I started making better money, something in me would sabotage that. Something in me would stop me from saying the price that I wanted to say. And I'd discount, in my own head, I would discount my price and the discount price would come out. I had to deal with myself before I could actually do the external stuff. So I say all of this to go, there's a major problem for a lot of people where they are their own worst enemy when it comes to sales and marketing. A major, major problem. The first thing you have to do, without me getting all woo-woo here, the first thing you have to do is kind of kill your own demons, or at least defy them. So when I started doing the lives, when I started doing the first lives, I felt like an idiot doing them. I was constantly questioning whether I was annoying people and all this kind of stuff. And I had to just do it anyway. So you don't kill a demon, you don't settle something by not doing it. Like if you're waiting to feel ready to do something, or if one day you'll feel better about this, that one day only comes by doing it today. I've been reading a lot of stuff about Stoicism lately, and I may not get all the philosophies right for somebody who's like a pro-Stoic here. But one of the things I've suddenly and realized is I am only in control of this moment. The moment I'm on the live here with you, I can only control what I do now. Because the future, the live could die. You could leave. Brand new people could come on. Everything in front of me, I have no control of. And everything behind me, I have no control of. I only have control of what happens now. What I do now. And for many of you, you're putting things off out of fear, going, I'll push it into the future, and it may not happen. I made that mistake in my first business. I got started, had some business going, and then said, I'll start to market it more once things get settled because I've got quite a lot of business now. And atypically what happens in a business is first they run out of leads. Then they run out of clients, not enough clients, and then they run out of money. I can't control what leads I get tomorrow, but I can control what I do today. And I can follow up my leads today. I can reach out to a few people who've expressed interest today. I can contact old clients today. I can do that now. I have no guarantee that in an hour's time, my world will not be hijacked by something else, a family crisis or whatever, that could take that time away from me, which means that stuff doesn't happen. So the first thing you've got to realize is you are your own worst enemy. Before you build any infrastructure, you are your own worst enemy. And you've got to just defy yourself. I can't tell you, there's some mental exercise you can do. Sometimes I just do things knowing full well I don't want to do it, but I'll choose to do it because I know it will never happen if I don't do it now. So you just have to be radically honest with yourself and go, if I'm serious about doing the leads, I have to do the work. There's no ifs, no buts, I have to do the work. I'm done with excuses, do the work. Now, when it comes to building infrastructure is what helps you get repeatable success. Now, you can be your own infrastructure. In other words, you do your follow-ups, you do everything. But there are certain elements of your infrastructure you absolutely need so that the standard of the way you do it is maintained. Why does that matter? Well, if you have certain mechanisms in place that you either do manually but stick to, or you automate but stick to, you have a repeatable process. I know when I've been busy, sometimes I do my sales calls differently and I wonder why they don't close. I know sometimes I do my proposals differently because I'm in a rush or whatever, and sometimes I mess them up. You need a certain level of infrastructure of how you do things so that you can repeat success. So things like, I have certain emails that go out each week. I have that email software. There are certain tools that I have in infrastructure in my business that are not nice to have. They are standard tools. Do I use them all the time? No, but they are part of my infrastructure set. And what's that? How leads can get calls with me, how I do my proposals, how I do my follow-up. These are non-negotiable sets of infrastructure. They're set in stone. I just do them. How I prospect on LinkedIn, set in stone. How I create my content, set in stone. These variables have been nailed. They are gone. They are not variables anymore. Because the more variables I introduce into what I'm doing in my business, the more I can't repeat it. If I decide to do everything differently every time, it might be more exciting and interesting for me, but actually I can't get good at it. So think about it like this. If I do lives every day, I need a process to be able to come up with an idea of what to talk about. I need a way to actually set all this up, a room ready to go, so that all of the thinking, all of the complexity is gone. Think about your day-to-day lead generation process. Think about your plan of how you are planning to build your pipeline, build your business. Do you have a set of infrastructure of how you're going to do that? Or are you just jumping around trying different things? That again is an emotional issue. Novelty factor, and you're looking for a miracle cure. When I first did lives, I didn't get leads from them. Why did I not get leads? Because I wasn't very good at them. I was uncomfortable. I'd rehearse, I'd read stuff, I'd be dependent on my slides, I'd overthink it. I was not very good at them. So did I go, no leads, I'm not going to do it again? No, I went, I got to get good at this. I got to figure this out. I've got to figure out how I make all this stuff work. Why? Because 6 years down the line, I've generated 125,000 leads and probably $10 million worth of revenue from doing it. But you don't get anywhere by not building those systems, that infrastructure. Some of it might be manual, some of it might be tools. And by not owning and controlling yourself, you only have the moment. Yeah, you only have the moment that you're in right now to make decisions and take action, because you don't know what's going to happen in the next moment and you can't control what happened in the past moment. You can't go back in time and you can't go forward into the future and see what happens. You've only got now. So think about, what is the infrastructure that would help me make the most of now? So let's say you did get 100 leads from your live event, or you've just got 100 people in your newsletter. What's the sign up for your landing page? What's the system by the way you're going to keep that thing turning and growing? So I'll give you an example. I've got a LinkedIn newsletter, I've got a Substack newsletter, I've got an email newsletter. I mix and match the content. Some of my emails are actually posts. Some of my posts are actually emails. I am not creating new stuff for every different channel. I'm using and remodeling what I'm making for one into multiple things. Why? Because if I have to keep making new everywhere, I don't have the infrastructure, the time, or the manpower to do it. So I build one thing and develop it into different formats. That's a system. How do I get leads? I do live events like this. I do weekly live events every single week. How do I convert leads? I have a system of people I prospect on LinkedIn. I send 5 messages a day, every day, and I get calls booked. I just do the things. And here's the great thing about when you build systems like this, you do it without thinking. You get to a point where you just do it. Like, have you ever been driving and you're driving along and you arrive at your destination and you can't remember the journey? Have you ever had that? I do sometimes, and you're probably worrying for my safety now, but I've had that where I've been driving along and I don't remember the journey. That's because sometimes you can shift into driving on autopilot. My lead generation, my LinkedIn stuff, I do on autopilot now because I've done it consistently, done the same thing over and over and over again, that actually the infrastructure is just automatic. It's just automatic. I don't have to think about, oh, what am I going to post in the morning? I don't have to think about any of that stuff anymore because I've committed to getting good at it. Even when it was frustrating, even when I felt like there must be an easier way, I just kept doing the same things over and over and over again. And you master it. You master it. So if I chopped and changed every month and went, oh, no, I'm going to try and do this type now, and I'm not getting good at anything. I'm not getting smart at anything. And if you look at the most successful businesses, they have the almost autopilot ability to capture leads, close them into clients, and keep them, and do that again and again and again on autopilot. Those are system issues that you don't think about, you don't obsess about. Now, when you introduce a new system, there's friction. When you introduce something new, there's an uncertainty of, is this the right thing? Does it work this way? There's probably a few mistakes you'll make in it. That is the perfect natural way that you bring systems into a business. There will be this uncertainty. There will be this nervousness, unfamiliarity, bit of overwhelm. Could you imagine if a huge corporate business decided to adopt a new technology that would save them millions or make them billions? And because it was uncomfortable, because it was a new system that they hadn't worked out yet, and it was unfamiliar, and they're learning it as they go, they decided, do you know what, we'll just stop because it's uncomfortable. That's not how things work. Everything is uncomfortable at the beginning. But I wanted to talk about the infrastructure to convert today because a lot of people are so eager to get leads, but not so willing to do the big work to get the infrastructure to get the leads consistently. And I see this all the time, people buying course after course after course to get leads. And then when the work comes along and the work's uncomfortable, or there's hurdles or there's difficulties, they go and buy something else. And I would argue that everything that you do when it comes to getting leads is scary, is unfamiliar, is maybe a little bit challenging. And if you let yourself control that, if you let your feelings control that, if you let your sense of overwhelm control that, what will happen is you will abandon it. And like that person I was talking to yesterday, generating 146 leads, you won't do the follow-up because it's uncomfortable. And instead, what you do is you go, I am literally choosing in this moment to prioritize my emotional feelings, how I feel, over money and the money I want to make. And the goals I'm saying I want, I am in the moment saying goals don't matter, my personal feelings do. And a lot of people do this over and over and over again. They don't build the infrastructure because it's scary, it's unfamiliar, and they identify themselves as not very techy or whatever that is. And they choose to basically go, I'm not going to do that, and assume that the future, the status quo, if they're doing all right now, the status quo will continue. We have no idea that the status quo will continue. We have no idea that another referral is going to come in next week. They might stop. You have no idea. I have no idea. So you have to think about what's happening in the moment. And is this the great decision? Is it a great decision to go, actually, I know I need more leads and clients, but I feel really uncomfortable right now. I feel really, I don't want to do it. I don't want to get the rejection. I don't want to feel icky, whatever that is. So I'm going to push this off and prioritize me in the moment over my future. Because that's what we're talking about here. Your future, your career, if you're a salesperson, your career if you're a marketer, or your business and financial well-being if you're a business owner. What are you doing to build that infrastructure? And not just build it, commit to building it, commit to getting good with it, not just keep changing and chopping. I remember talking to somebody earlier in the week, and we were talking about like AI tools and how they changed AI, like so many AI tools they'd had. And I'm like, I just use a couple of tools and I'm just stuck with them. I don't need to change every month because somebody says this one's better than that one. You can't operate a business by changing things every month. What you have is just shiny object syndrome. And I said to him, just stick with ChatGPT. Sure, there's all these other ones that are cool and do this cool stuff, but you're not building anything. You're not building anything. You're moving things around, but you're no better off than you were 4 months ago because you've still not built anything. You've built no infrastructure around you. So the hill that you climb every month is the same hill every month. It's not getting easier or simpler because you're chopping and changing and not doing the work to build the infrastructure. You're just shiny object syndrome. So I don't know whether this is useful this morning. I thought I'd share this because it's something I see a lot. You know, the emotions and being prioritizing what's important in the moment. Yes, you've got goals, but prioritize what's in the moment. And the infrastructure is twofold. It's you getting very good at that whole machine, but it's also building the systems around you, whether that be tech or whether that be processes, to actually consistently convert so they happen on autopilot. Even if they're manual, if you get really good and commit to them, they will become autopilot processes and you won't even think about them. They'll just happen. You'll just do them and you won't even realize. So I thought I'd share that with you. Thank you for watching me this morning. Bit heavy for early in the morning, but it was important to me to share this because it had happened. A couple of things had come up and I want to share it with you guys. So have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend.